Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, takeover news, general news, chit chat. So, discussing all things Manchester United. I am going to say one thing at the start of this live. I am sorry if I don't pronounce things correctly, or just words don't come out right. I cut my mouth quite badly, so I put some this really big cut inside, really painful. So I put numbing cream on there 10 minutes ago, and now I couldn't say my S's. So hopefully I don't go in the stream. But if I do, I apologise. I can speak, just can't seem to pronounce things because my mouth's a bit at the moment. So we'll just clear that up. But enough of that. We've got news on Mainoo to Manchester City. Personally, don't believe it, but I believe that Man City are interested in him. I just don't believe that Mainoo will go. We've got news about Sergio Ratcliffe actually investing his own money in United, which is way more than the Glazers ever done. So even if you don't want Sergio Ratcliffe, and I never really wanted Sergio Ratcliffe, if he's investing his own money into the club, that's a lot more than what we've got with the Glazers. So we can look at it that way. There are rumours that Qatar are returning. I think they just made up speculation for clicks, but we can get into that as well. Obviously, Fulham game tomorrow. We're going to get into that. Who's in the team? Mainoo. Woo! He's in the team tomorrow. Let's go. We'll get up into the lineup, the squad, all of that stuff. I mean, he's not in the starting 11, but he's in the squad. He might be in the starting 11. We'll get into that. We will talk about that, but also reports about Manchester United preparing Ten Hag sacking. United have obviously been speaking about managers in case Ten Hag is sacked. They've got some managers lined up. Apparently, there has been contact with the sporting manager, and the sporting manager did an interview today when he was asked about United, he just kind of said, we'll see at the end of the season, which is a bit like, oh, will we see something at the end of the season? Could Ten Hag be sacked as well? So lots of rumours and speculation that Ten Hag will be sacked if he loses to Fulham. Manchester United got managers lined up to replace Ten Hag. Do I think Ten Hag will be sacked? I don't think we can afford to sack him, to be honest. But apparently we're looking at Flick Zidane. I'm going to tell you this now for a fact. Before I get into the news, I'm going to tell you this as a straight-up fact. Zidane is not coming to Manchester United. We've got more chance of getting Sheikh Yassim than we have getting Zidane. Zinedine Zidane is not coming to Manchester United. He is never coming to Manchester United. He will only go to a club where, one, the owners are good. He'll only go to a club where I don't even think he speaks proper English. There's a lot of rumours about United getting Zidane. Not the case. Sporting manager, likely. Zidane, unlikely. I will say that now for a fact. Doesn't take a genius to tell you, stop with this Zidane nonsense. He's not coming to United. He doesn't want to come to Manchester United. Right, please do hit that like button. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video and subscribe as well. So why would Zidane come to United? Well, Zidane's very picky. Zidane's wanted by a lot of clubs, and he has absolutely no interest in coming to Man United. So we're going to get right into the news. We're going to get right into the stories. What story should we start with? Should we start with the Ten Hag story as well? I do apologise for this background noise. People are just being loud and chatty, and it's annoying. But hopefully it doesn't pick up on the mic. So I want to dive firstly into Jamie Jackson's story. Then I want to dive into the chat, get your opinion, discuss a few things as well. So let me share my screen with you guys quickly here. I can barely speak. I don't know how I'm trying to speak, but it's quite hard to speak at the moment. But it was said Erik ten Hag is set to continue as Manchester United manager for Saturday's trip for Fulham, but must oversee an upturn in results to keep his job. So that was the first thing said by Jamie Jackson, is essentially that Ten Hag is going to remain Man United manager, but he needs to get better results if he wants to keep his job, which, you know what, it is fair enough. The results aren't good enough. Football is results-based business. However, you know my stance on it. If you sack Ten Hag, we've got Darren Fletcher as interim to the end of the season. Things will not get better if we sack Ten Hag. We have this 2-year cycle of sacking a manager, bad recruitment, toxic dressing room environment. For me, Ten Hag might need to be sacked. He might not be good enough because the football we're playing is not good enough. But I will stick with this stance. I do not want another manager sacked because I am fed up of sacking managers every 2 years at this club. I'm fed up of it. Instead, taking the easy option and sacking the manager, they need to sack Arnold, they need to sack Murta, Joel Glazer needs to give up power and put a proper sporting director in and give that proper sporting director power to sell any player that Ten Hag wants sold, whether it's Sancho, Maguire, Bruno, Rashford, doesn't matter who the player is. just like at Man City, just like at Liverpool, it doesn't matter who the player is. It could be Salah, it could be Kevin De Bruyne. If Pep wants them gone, if Klopp wants them gone, they're gone. The club find replacements because they've got capable recruitment to do that. Manchester United, instead of sacking a manager every 2 years, should go, we need to make changes at the top of the club. We need to do this at the top of the club. We then need to give the manager power to get rid of who he wants to get rid and bring in who he wants to bring in. And then Ten Hag himself, may end up being sacked if results don't turn around or he doesn't show progress. But then you speak to Ten Hag and say, you've got to the end of the season, because we can only afford to bring in an interim and we don't want to bring an interim. But you could say to Ten Hag, you've got to the end of the season to, 1, do more tactical work for your team and less of this work that's getting everyone injured. 2, build a better connection with your team and dressing room. And 3, show us that you can progress the style of play and we're going to progress. And you give Ten Hag to the end of the season and you say to Ten Hag, if things are crap at the end of the season, if we don't see a style of play, if we can't see what you're trying to do come end of the season, you will be sacked. If we can see what we're trying to do, we're going to fully back you. That's what I'd say. Give Ten Hag to the end of the season, because I do not want Fletcher as an interim, and I've made that very clear. But I do want to get into the news, the stories as well. It was said, although there is no desire among the executives to replace Erik Ten Hag, who they have backed as the right man for the long term, there is an acceptance that after 8 losses in 15 games, he needs to turn around this run of form starting at Fulham. So Man United don't actually want to sack Ten Hag, but basically there's a lot of pressure on him saying, Erik Ten Hag needs to turn around this poor run of form or he will be sacked. And I'll be honest with you, I think Erik Ten Hag, unfortunately, and I don't want him sacked, as I said, could be getting sacked purely for the fact that we're linked to other coaches. This happened with Oli. This happened with Mourinho. For me, I think once we get linked to other managers, it's probably the end of the road for Ten Hag, unless he can produce a miracle. And unfortunately, he's going to have to produce a miracle, because I think some of the players at Manchester United have already given up or already in the wrong headspace already. But it was said that Manchester United are considering alternatives to Erik Ten Hag, who was thought to be on thin ice at the club. United view Zinedine Zidane and obviously Ruben Amorim as potential replacements for Ten Hag. We will talk about Ruben Amorim, the sporting manager, as well in a second, but United are sort of viewing them as replacements for Ten Hag. There are reports coming out from AZ that United are also looking at Hansi Flick of the Germany job, but there are credible reports saying that actually Manchester United's ideal candidate, of course, would be the Sporting Lisbon manager if Ten Hag is sacked, and that doesn't really surprise me as well. And this is what I put out the other day that I want to share on my screen, and then I do want to get into your guys' thoughts, opinions on the news and more. But I said being linked to alternative managers is not a good sign. That I think this happened just before Ole and Mourinho went. I give Ten Hag till December 18th, then I think he might be gone, unfortunately. Same day Jose was sacked 5 years ago, rinse and repeat FC. That was my reaction to the news. And do you know why I said December 18th? Because Jose Mourinho 5 years ago lost to Liverpool December the 17th. December the 17th, 2018, Jose Mourinho lost 3-1 to Liverpool and was sacked. December 17th, 5 years later, Ten Hag is in the same position as Mourinho, same start to the season as Mourinho, and has got to go to Anfield on the same day Mourinho went to Anfield and lost his job. It does feel a little bit like deja vu. In all honesty, I am a little bit worried about this Manchester United-Liverpool game coming up. I can't lie to you guys on that and on that story, but hopefully all will be fine as well. Please do hit that like button if you have not already, and do subscribe if you're new as well. We've got lots and lots to talk about in today's show. I do want to dive into the live chat. I do want to get into the lineup ahead of the Fulham game. There is a leaked lineup going about, which is quite an exciting lineup ahead of the Fulham game as well. So downward touch United. We mainly won ugly last term, but the big change is work rate standards mentality completely gone this season. I agree. We're not winning convincingly. We are winning ugly. We're not playing the best football. And look, things aren't great at United. Ugly wins, poor football. I get that as well. So what's that? I don't know. I've just got a weird chat. One sec. I need to just quickly check something. Someone said there's a problem with the stream. Is there a problem with the stream? Someone said the thumbnail's not coming up. I don't think there's a problem with the stream. I don't think there is. Well, I hope there's not a problem with the stream. A few people are saying that the stream's not working and the thumbnails aren't coming up. I don't know. Let me know. But anyway, continuing on, back into Alex's point. I think the worrying thing is we're winning ugly. And at the end of the day, we're winning, but the wins aren't convincing. But what I want to see is it's not so much results anymore. Like, I think we're not going to get top 4. I do think the season's over. And the reason I think the season's over is not because I think we can't turn it around. I think we can turn it around, just with the injuries seeming to get worse and with the poor player attitudes. I just don't think we will turn it around. With Ten Hag being stubborn, I don't think he'll change it around. But the reason I'm worried is not about us not being able to turn things around. It's the fact that I think Tottenham are too good, Newcastle too good, Liverpool are too good, Arsenal too good, Man City are too good. That's the top 5. That's the Champions League places sorted for next season. Villa are good, Brighton are good. I think Chelsea even are better than us, even though we're above them. So I think in that sense, the season is over because this is one of the few Premier League seasons where everyone has gotten off to a good start, bar Man United and Chelsea, you could say. So I think the season is over in that sense. So I think we're in a position right now, and personally, in my opinion, where I'm looking at it as not so much results, more as progress. You know, I want to see the Manchester United players putting in a lot of effort. I want to see the Manchester United players working hard. I want to see Manchester United players following a system, giving 100%. I want to see players that even if we lose, there's like something convincing about it. When we lost 3-1 to Arsenal, I wasn't that mad because I saw something in that 3-1 defeat to Arsenal. I saw potential. I saw the players trying. I saw what Ten Hag was trying to do. And I wasn't that mad when we lost 3-1 to Arsenal because I saw something. I saw more in the 3-1 Arsenal loss than I did in the 1-0 Copenhagen win, the 2-1 Brentford win. You know, I saw all of that. So I always think, you know, for me, I think the results are kind of out the window now because I think top 4 is gone. I think we're probably out of the Champions League. I think it's a big mess. But the way I see it at United is I want to see progress. I want to see something to give us hope. Chelsea are lower than us in the league. They've had some really bad games. They've had some good games. But the thing is, we've had one good game in 15. And that one good game in 15 was against Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup. Chelsea have had 6 or 7 good games in 15, had a worse season than us last season. I've got more to build on. Obviously, they've spent more money. You can say it like that. But Chelsea can see something in some of their wins, and they can even see something in some of their losses. They got a point away at Anfield as well this season. You know, Chelsea can see something, whereas we're in a position as United where we can't really see anything. When we're winning against Copenhagen, there was nothing positive to take other than, okay, Anana making that penalty save maybe gave us some confidence. When we beat Sheffield United, there wasn't anything positive to take. When we beat Brentford, we're like, okay, well, we can turn it around. Maybe that's a positive mentality. But there's not been a lot of positives to take in a lot of Manchester United's recent results and stuff, and even wins. And I think, you know, 15 games and only one game where we actually played good football and there was something positive there is worrying. I think the second best game was almost the 3-1 loss to Arsenal. So I think we're in a position where it's not about results anymore. It's not about where we finish. It's about progress. And we were in a position right now as you sat Ten Hag and you go with Dan Fletcher or Mitchell van der Gaard as interim to the end of the season, which ultimately isn't going to make things better. For me, you keep with Ten Hag. You say to Ten Hag, I want you to do less intense drills and training because I think that's contributing to injuries and the players are saying it's making them tired, and do more tactical work. And I will give the players that because Pep Guardiola, Eddie Howe, all the top managers, Klopp, have said that they go and do tactical work in the team rather than intense training. If I am Ten Hag, I do less intense training and I do more tactical work because the big problem at United, according to the leaks, is that they don't feel Ten Hag is good at communicating with them about what he wants to do and what he wants to achieve. So if I'm Ten Hag, I go, you know what? I've been told I've got to the end of the season. It's not about results. Now I want to implement my style of play. Ten Hag's obviously spoken about the quote versus Ajax where, you know, he said he can't play the Ajax way, and we'll get into that in just a second. But if I'm Ten Hag, it's all about, let's see if I can implement the way I want to play, a bit more possession-based, see if the players can adapt, see if we can do a bit more tactical work. And if we get to the end of the season and we finish 10th, but we get to the end of the season and towards the end of the season we see good football that could be built on, and we just know that some of these players aren't good enough and need to be replaced efficiently, with Sergio Ratcliffe coming in and bringing in Blanc and bringing in Mitchell, to build on that, maybe there can be some general positives as well. Chelsea will spend their way out of it. Big difference. We don't have the funds. All our revenue, we operate at a big financial loss yet again as well. And that's the problem is, as you know, we need to rebuild the team, but it's going to take a lot of money. And I don't know if United have the money to do that. However, I do want to get into the Sergio Ratcliffe news. Sergio Ratcliffe is set to invest some of his own money into Manchester United, which potentially could add a change to the situation. It was actually said today on the takeover, it was said by Mike Keegan that a planned 245 million infrastructure injection from Sergio Ratcliffe will go into Manchester United and will be going to redeveloping Old Trafford. So whether you like that or not, at the end of the day, at least Sergio Ratcliffe is actually spending his own money and not Man United's money to redevelop the stadium. That's a big positive there. it was said that Sergio Ratcliffe's £1.3 billion deal for 25% of Manchester United, which is thought to be the first step in a structural buyout, is likely to be announced in the next 2 weeks, but could be scheduled for change. So it was said that they're going to announce Sergio Ratcliffe's deal in the next 2 weeks, where he buys 25%, and he's already put 250 million aside on top of that 25%, which is going to go into restructuring the stadium. There's also reports coming out that Sergio Ratcliffe plans to spend money in not only doing the stadium, but investing in the squad in January. There is reports coming out that Sir Jim is willing to put his own cash into Manchester United to invest in January and improve the stadium. And hopefully that will be the case. Now, I've been very clear, full sale only. I was very clear that I want a Qatar full sale only, and I'm not happy about the 25% stake. But the situation is we're not getting Qatar, we're getting Sergio Ratcliffe, despite rumours. And the situation is Sergio Ratcliffe wants to get rid of Arnold, get rid of Murta, and bring in Blanc and bring in Mitchell, which will be a significant improvement. I want to talk about those and who they are. So that will be positive, because that's actually structural changes happening. Sergio Ratcliffe is going to be given some kind of sporting power. There is the worry that the Glazers are still going to be here and still have control of the finances. So if we do get Paul Mitchell and Blanc in, are they going to be given the control to do what they need to do? That is the big worry. And that's going to be the big question mark that gets answered. But also Sergio Ratcliffe is actually investing his own money rather than investing money that we generate into building a stadium. So, he's an improvement on the Glazers in that sense. He's not Qatar, he's not the golden option, but he's an improvement on the Glazers. And I've said this, Sergio Ratcliffe reminds me of Kroenke, he reminds me of FSG. Liverpool don't like their owners. Arsenal don't like their owners, but Arsenal and Liverpool's owners employed good people, gave them a bit of power. So now Arsenal's quite well run, Liverpool's quite well run. Sergio Ratcliffe could be that Kroenke, could be that FSG at Manchester United, and is willing to apparently spend money to invest in January, and that deal should be done by January. Now, as I've said, full sale only, Glazers out. I want them completely gone. I don't like that Jim Ratcliffe is keeping the Glazers here, but I think bringing in Blanc and Mitchell is exactly what needs to happen at United. The question mark now is how much power will Blanc and Mitchell get to do the changes that are needed to be done at Manchester United, because there's a lot of changes that need to be done at United. And will Joel Glazer give them the funds? Will Joel Glazer give them the power to get rid of who they want to go? Now, I got an interesting comment on my video earlier. So I made a video earlier today where I was sort of speaking about who Blanc was. And Jean-Claude Blanc is a guy that, very clever guy, went to Juventus, and I don't think they'd won a title in 9 years. And Juventus were in a big financial loop. They were in debt. He actually got Juventus' financial situation a lot better, helped Juventus win their first league title in 9 years, and did a really good job at Juventus, and then left to join PSG. At PSG, he worked more on the commercial marketing side of things. PSG, Man City, two teams that got taken over, but PSG is kind of a recognised brand for selling shirts. Loads of people wear PSG shirts. No one really wears Man City shirts. He did a really good commercial and financial job at PSG, which Joel Glazer might like, but also he was a big part of contributing to PSG's first league title in 23 years. Obviously, they had a takeover, so it was bound to happen, but he's been successful at Juventus. He's been successful at PSG. And I had someone comment saying, Alice, if he was a good sporting director, why did PSG and Juventus get rid of him? No, PSG and Juventus did not get rid of Blanc. He left them. He went to Juventus, did a good job for a few years, left, went to PSG, did a good job for a few years, left, joined Jim Ratcliffe at Ineos. Same with Paul Mitchell. Paul Mitchell did a good job at Southampton, left, did a good job at Spurs, left, did a good job at RB clubs, left, did a good job at Monaco, left. It's not like they're sacked. So the addition of Paul Mitchell and the addition of Blanc will be really positive additions to United in terms of rebuilding the club and all of that. And, while I'm not a big fan of Ratcliffe coming in with a 25% stake, that's what's going to happen. I've got to be positive, and they will be good for the club. The big question is, though, will Joel Glazer give up power to let them be good? Because there's one thing bringing in a sporting director, there's one thing bringing in a competent CEO, it's two, giving them the power. Because if Ten Hag wants this player sold, we sell this player. Pep Guardiola wanted Cancelo sold, he was allowed to sell Cancelo. Pep Guardiola wanted Sane sold, he was allowed to sell Sane. Liverpool were allowed to sell Mane, Fabinho. Man United, we don't seem to be allowed to sell anyone because we won't promise the manager a competent replacement because we're idiots. We should be in a situation where McTominay, Maguire and Sancho would have been sold this summer if Ten Hag got his way, and we would have had Nico Williams, Gravenberch and Kim Min-jae in the lineup instead, and we'd been a lot better off. I'm not saying that the season would be miraculously better, because there's a lot of problems, and I think it goes beyond dropping one player. It goes beyond injuries. The style of play is awful. There's something not right with United, but definitely would have been some kind of improvement. So I do try and look at that news with the most sort of positive outlook. Like, it's very negative at United. Things are getting from bad to worse, so I'm trying to look at everything with the most positive outlook I can. We're on 111 likes, guys, so please do hit that like button as well. And proper football people, clearly an upgrade on Arnold and Murta. Our current execs would struggle to get another job in a Premier League club. Exactly. And I don't know if you watched my video that came out earlier today about the big drama that went on between Richard Arnold and the Glazers, but the United Muppeteers said this. I've spoken to some people who have some information on United, and they said that the relationship between Richard Arnold, John Murtough, and the Glazers is at an all-time low. Obviously, the Greenwood situation complicated Richard Arnold's relationship with a lot of people, but this takeover situation has really annoyed Richard Arnold because he's concerned about his job and the lack of communication by the Glazers. And it said that Richard Arnold is barely on speaking terms with the Glazers anymore. So I think in that sense, Richard Arnold will probably go anyway, even if it's not Blanc to replace him when Ratcliffe comes in. We know that Richard Arnold's relationship with the Glazers is at an all-time low at the moment because of the takeover, because of his job uncertainty. Arnold and Murtough are really unhappy, and I think maybe that could rub further down on the squad. You know, if the Glazers are falling out with Arnold and Murtough, there's problems there, and potentially that problem just spreads negativity lower on. When there's problems at the top of the club, the negativity, it does spread to those at the bottom of the club. So I do think, you know, there is big problems going on there, and I don't think I did a video earlier and I said Richard Arnold, from what I'm hearing, will be gone very, very soon. Now I will get into the lineup for the Man United versus Fulham game and all of that as well. There's obviously a lot of rumours on Rafael Varane causing problems as well, but Ten Hag was asked about that in a press conference, and he said that Varane will be back in the squad as well. So I think the Varane stuff was speculation as well. Obviously, the dressing room seems to be gone. I'll show you what I said the other day quickly. This is what I said the other day on the whole situation going on with United. I said, I'm worried for Ten Hag. The dressing room is clearly in disarray, and we know what these players are like when things go south. Instead of fighting to turn things around, they tend to give up and wait for another manager to be sacked. However, I've had enough of this pattern of sacking managers every 2 years. If only we could sack some of the players. Newcastle embarrassed us, and look, we will question Ten Hag for that. Ten Hag is partly at fault, but I said, you know, some of the problems at United go beyond just sacking a manager. There's no excuse for the poor quality of football witnessing, and Ten Hag needs to improve tactically. Massively, Ten Hag needs to improve tactically. He needs to drop some of his favourites. He needs to actually communicate with the squad better to implement the way he wants to play. But, you know, if we sack him now, we just end up with Fletcher to the end of the season, which is essentially Ragnick 2.0. But it feels like Ten Hag's tenure is just coming to an end, because this is what happens. As soon as Ollie was at the end, there was leaks coming out, anti-Ollie leaks, particularly by Luckhurst, and then we're linked to other managers. Now we're linked to other managers, and there's anti-Ten Hag leaks coming out. And I said this on the whole situation, and this is my thoughts on it as well. This is 100% how I feel about Ten Hag. Sacking the manager at Man United every time things go wrong is the short-term solution and the easy way out for the Glazers every time. But ultimately, we see time and time again that things don't change in the long run. Instead, what the owner should really be doing is appointing a proper director of football, CEO, and giving up some power to let them work. Joel Glazer should allow them to sell whoever Ten Hag wants gone and buy within budget to upgrade. Unfortunately, due to Joel Glazer's refusal to give up power, no serious director of football wants to work with him. So we remained in this trapped cycle of bad recruitment, sacking managers every 2 years, with the dressing room becoming seemingly toxic. I understand why people are not happy with Ten Hag. I do understand why people are Ten Hag out, but I don't think it will get better if Ten Hag is sacked, which is why I'm Ten Hag in. But the football we are playing is poor, and I cannot see any progress. Maybe in the long run he will have to go, but if we sack Ten Hag now, we'll be stuck with Fletcher as interim to the end of the season. It won't get better. Sacking the manager is the easy option when things go wrong, but the real problems run much deeper than that. Rinse and repeat FC. And that is the big problem. The takeover situation has caused a lot of negativity at the top of the club that has spread to the players in the bottom of the club. Romano has said the lack of communication, the lack of information on the takeover is rubbing off negatively on the Manchester United players. You know, there's a lot of problems with players in the club. There's a lot of drama within the club that needs to be sorted. There's a lot of injuries. You can blame Ten Hag for some of them. But ultimately, the way I see it is, you know, sacking manager, it's not going to fix problems. You know, maybe in the long run, we will need to sack Ten Hag. Maybe he's not going to be the guy in the long run. But in the short term, we need to make changes because there's big problems happening. And unfortunately, the big change would have been Glazers out, Qatar in. But that's very unlikely to be the case. So I did want to share my thoughts on that whole situation as well. So much background noise. I do apologise if it's interrupting as well. Hi Alice, I know sacking the manager isn't the solution, but Ollie was better than this. It honestly feels like Ollie 2.0. I feel like we were exactly where we were 2 years ago with Ollie, the crap football, the favouritism, the leaks. I understand why people are Ten Hag out. I understand why people are upset. People are frustrated. The football we're playing is a disgrace. Ten Hag tactically is getting embarrassed, and he massively needs to stop being stubborn and stop playing favouritism. But I just think the club is such a mess that I think sacking the manager is always the short-term solution. And in fact, sometimes you've got to do short-term pain for long-term gain, and maybe bigger problems need to be fixed. Roy Keane is interim manager. Let them kick some ass. You know what? I'd probably get behind that, but I don't know if Roy Keane is the best manager, but I tell you what, I wouldn't mind Roy Keane in the dressing room having a go at a lot of these players as well. I'll say that. And I will say one thing, the players have been a disgrace, and some of the players may be responsible for leaks, but a lot of these leaks, from what I'm hearing, is just the media trying to drive a negative thing. Oh, what the hell? What is that's awful. Sorry. El Ghazi's contract with Mainz has been terminated because she supported Palestine. It's ridiculous, isn't it? That's ridiculous. So I was just reading the football notes there, but I mean, I can't believe they would completely terminate El Ghazi's contract because he supports Palestine. I think that's mad, because supporting Palestine doesn't mean you support Hamas. It just means you don't want innocent Palestinians to be killed. So, but he's just been kicked out of Mainz. It's mad what's happening in the world. Craziness as well. This drama that's not involving United. Sacking managers is not always the best solution, just creates instability and unrest. And look, the guy we're looking to sack, Ten Hag for, plays free at the back. So Delo would have to go, Wan-Bissaka would have to go, and then it would have to be this whole rebuild process again. Now, I'm a big fan of the Sporting Lisbon manager. I think he's done a great job, but he's a very different manager that plays a very different way to, of course, Ten Hag. So if you sat Ten Hag, you bring in the Sporting Lisbon manager, all of a sudden United have got to play this completely different way of football, this completely different style of football. And it's just like, oh, here we go again. Now, I do want to give you a little bit of context on the Sporting Lisbon manager and a bit of information on him as well. I saw someone put some good information out there on him and what he would add as well. So I will get into some information on this as well. But let me share my screen quickly. It was said, so that this is probably a good way to sum up the potential replacement for Ten Hag as well. Unreal. The downing tools is still happening. So many signings, some serial winners and some former Eric Ten Hag players, and yet the same toxicity. And this is my general opinion. I don't think the manager's the problem. I don't think the players are the problem. I think the environment of Man United is the problem. Perfectly good players come to United and become toxic. Perfectly good managers come to United and become crap. I feel like we're the problem, and a lot of it does stem from the top, just the toxicity, how badly we're run and neglected, and there's no communication from those at the top to those below, so then those below don't communicate well with the squad, and I think this big mess of how the club is neglected and how people communicate, it does set an influence, those at the top to those players, and it does spread toxicity. But this is the guy that would most likely replace Ten Hag if he is sacked. This probably wouldn't happen until the summer because, as I'm aware, United do not have the money to sack Ten Hag. We also have a link to Graham Potter. Please know this guy. I'd be happy with him replacing Ten Hag, but I want to give Ten Hag time to succeed because I think he's such a different manager that just can't be asked to go in this cycle. Do you know what I mean? But Sedan's not going to happen. Southgate, please no. Graham Potter, please no. Brendan Rodgers, we've been linked to, please no. Hansi Flick, fine. This guy, fine. But this guy's not going anywhere until the end of the season. So I don't want an interim. Interim just writes the season off. So potentially in the summer, if we're in a situation where the football hasn't improved under Ten Hag, potentially if we're in the summer where it's just got worse and clearly Ten Hag is lost and he's out of his depth, this is the guy I've used to replace Ten Hag or Benfica manager. And it was said about Amorim that he would be very, very good. This is what the Elite Pundit said on him. They said that I like him a lot, but he will still face the same problems Eric Ten Hag is facing. Don't just remember that sacking Ten Hag, that is one problem out of 100 problems. You sack Ten Hag, there's still 99 other problems at United. However, this is where he could be an improvement on Ten Hag. He's flexible. He does have a branded style. He would have to publicly brand it and push it, but he is more like a young Jose with more emphasis on possession and heavily recycling the ball. So he's a little bit more defensive. But more possession based at the same time. The key difference, or maybe upgrade to Eric Ten Hag, is that he's a proven manager that's elite at achieving by in his methods. His communication is apparently good. All the leaks coming out is that Ten Hag's communication is bad, and he does seem adaptable. He does speak English, but he lines up famously with sort of a back three, back five. If we're sacking Ten Hag and bringing him in, it's just going to be a big fat rebuild again and again and again and again and again. All of this as well. Well, Flick would be another strict manager. Flick would be quite strict. But I think Flick would be good. I know he didn't do a good job with Germany, but I think he did a good job at Bayern. Keep up the good work, Alice. Big up everybody in the chat. Really, it's a picture of toilet roll. Really interesting one wipe. Really interesting picture there, mate. But thank you very much for the super chat as well. Newcastle was in a poor place not long ago when Bruce was manager, with new owners on the up. If Qatar came in, United would be on the up. Yeah, but unfortunately, we're not getting Qatar. I think there are rumours that Qatar is going to come in and get United, and Qatar are coming back in for United and stuff. There's a lot of speculation about Qatar and United, this and that. But in all honesty, from what I'm hearing, from what I know, I don't think Qatar are coming in for United. I don't think there's anything going on between Qatar and United. And I think people are just making up stuff for clicks, making up stuff for views, kind of stuff as well. But yeah, the El Ghazi situation is crazy. I've just seen a few people say it in the chat. He just put out his opinion and he got his contract terminated. For me, I think that's crazy to get your contract terminated for sticking up for Palestine. I think that's mad. He's not supporting the terrorists. He's saying that children shouldn't be killed because it's horrible what's going on. I'm not a political person, but what I'm seeing all over my timeline, innocent kids being killed, and it's horrible, absolutely horrible. So I don't know why his contract's been terminated for that. It's crazy what happens at football. I feel a bit sorry for El Ghazi. It's crazy that Mainz have relegated him for that. Footballers have done a lot worse. We could talk about Partey. We could talk about what Greenwood allegedly done. They're fine. But El Ghazi, he speaks up for Palestine. He gets sacked. It's a mad world we live in. I tell you what. But drama that doesn't involve United for a change as well. Do check out the second channel, as Diego says as well. Big up people, 151 likes as well. Right now, one of our main attractions for getting new signings is coming to play for Ten Hag. Well, it was. I don't know if it is right now, but, a lot of players came to us because they had a good relationship with Ten Hag at Ajax and wanted to come. Timber would have chose United over Arsenal if we went in for him. Gravenberch would have chose United over Liverpool if we went in for him. Obviously, Lissandro rejected Arsenal for United. So, you're absolutely right in the sense of we did have this pool, but the question mark is, does Ten Hag still have this pool? Does Ten Hag still have this pool? Because the football we're playing at the moment, I hate to say it, but it is absolutely atrocious as well. How come? I still think that Qatar will sit and watch this deal flounder in 2 years and will buy the club at a cheaper price. This Glazer plan's never going to work. Potentially, I don't know. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe will get the club in about 5-6 years fully, and then Sir Jim Ratcliffe is quite old, so maybe he sells it on and we get bought by the Qataris. I don't think it's completely over for Qatar. But I just think in the short term, I think it is going to be a Ratcliffe unless some massive changes happen. It's not over till it's over, but I think everything seems to be going Ratcliffe's way as well. Gaz says, Ten Hag is horrible. I can't watch this anymore. I mean, look, the football is atrocious. I can't watch it anymore. But if it's not Ten Hag ball, it's Darren Fletcher ball. As bad as Ten Hag ball is right now, do you want to see Darren Fletcher ball to the end of the season? Would you rather a manager that's proven to be successful at Ajax, was successful last season, would you rather he sit out to the end of the season because you know that actually deep down he's a good manager, or would you rather Fletcher, who's not even a good manager, sit out to the end of the season and completely write the season off now? I would rather Ten Hag sit out to the end of the season, even as bad as the football we're playing. Like, I don't want to watch Man United. I'm not looking forward to my watch along tomorrow. I have no interest in watching Man United because it's so bad. But if it's Ten Hag to the end of the season, it's Fletcher to the end of the season. And maybe Fletcher could be better than Ten Hag right now because it feels that bad. But ultimately, he's not a better manager than Ten Hag. And if you sack the manager, are the players getting their way? Are these players that act out, cause fuss after fuss after fuss? If you sack Ten Hag, are we just letting the players get their way again? That is the big question mark as well. But anyway, I do want to dive into, of course, the Manchester United versus Fulham lineup, because we've got the Fulham game tomorrow. My mouth is so painful, people. So painful. But I want to dive into the Man United versus Fulham lineup. So, also, I didn't speak about Mainoo to Man City, but reports are coming out that Man City are interested in Mainoo. Pep Guardiola is a big fan of Mainoo. Understandable. Mainoo's an absolute baller. But I can't see Kobbie Mainoo going to Man City. In all honesty, I can't see Kobbie Mainoo going to Man City, but we will see. Anyway, carrying on, let's talk about the Fulham lineup. So how are Manchester United going to line up versus Fulham? This is what we're going to get into here. I'm going to get into the leaked lineup. There's a leaked lineup that's come out, which is apparently what we're playing. So should I get the leaked lineup up? So apparently tomorrow, and this was a leak. This is how we're playing. So Wan-Bissaka is taking Delo's place. Reguilon is going to be at left back, but one of the leaks says that Delo's at left back, but I think Delo has been dropped. And it's going to be Maguire left centre back, who was dreadful the other day, and Varane at right centre back. Obviously, Amrabat's going to be in the pivot. There was a rumour that Mainoo was going to play, but I don't think that will be the case. This is, I'll put my lineup in, and then I'll put in the lineup that I think will be happening, and that is that Mount on the right wing, Højlund up top, obviously nice and rested, and Rashford on the left, because he's the only attacker in our team that's actually scored a bloody goal this season. So that would probably be my lineup for the game. Mount could always come into midfield, extra body in midfield, help break down Fulham. That would probably be my lineup for the game going into the Fulham game. However, reportedly, it's going to be Mount. It's going to be McTominay instead of Mainoo. That's what I'm hearing the lineup's going to be. Not a big fan of that, but that's what I'm hearing it's going to be. I'd rather see Eriksen than McTominay because he could drop deep and help out someone like Amrabat. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. If Mainoo's not ready, I want to see Eriksen, not McTominay, or I want to see Mount deep and maybe someone like Pelistri on the right-hand side. And is anyone else spotted this? But Pelistri's been dropped from the last two squads, which I think is a little bit concerning just because I think everything's so bad. Why is Pelistri the one getting dropped? But Pelistri has been dropped from the last two squads at United. So I don't think there's a problem going on with Pelistri or an injury or something, but I do think it's weird that Pelistri seems to be getting dropped as well. But I don't want to see McTominay near the starting 11 again. He's been absolutely dreadful lately. Alex says, I don't see Mainoo leaving, but if he did, it would be even more of a signal of our decline. Yeah, hopefully Mainoo doesn't leave, but you never know. You never know. Now, I do want to get into what the sporting manager spoke about in regards to United, because the sporting manager was obviously linked to United as well. It was said that Man United relaxed. Oh, we just got some more news coming in here. Breaking news. Let me get this up for you here. It was said on the Kobbie Mainoo situation. Let me zoom out one so you can see that better. It was said this on the Kobbie Mainoo situation, by the way, guys. It said that Man United relaxed about Manchester City's long-standing interest in Kobbie Mainoo. He chose to join United's academy over City at age 9, and City have attempted to lure him since for a long time. So they said that City have attempted to bring in Kobbie Mainoo for a very long time, but he stayed at United. He stayed committed to Manchester United, which is good. And that whole scenario is quite good there, that Kobbie Mainoo seems to have a pretty decent commitment to Manchester United. But I was going to speak about, of course, the sporting manager, what he said, because he's been linked to United and he'd actually come out and made a few comments about coming to United and that whole situation. So I do want to dive into that as well. I've just opened the wrong tab here. I'm trying to get the news up, but I've just completely opened the wrong tab here. Let me see if I can find it. Amorim, so let me get this up for you. He did speak about United here. He said, yeah, let me get this up here. Fabrizio Romano, I think Fabrizio Romano spoke to him about sort of taking the Man United job and stuff. This is what he said on the United links. So that's the Kobbie Mainoo news. This is what the Sporting Lisbon manager said. He said on Man United links, I'm not here to comment links with United. I have my idea of my future, but I'm not going to tell you for now. And everyone's a bit like, oh, he's saying he's got his idea on his future, but he's not going to tell you for now. Like that does raise some big question marks. What do you mean you're not going to tell me for now? He said, I can't predict that. It depends on many things. So he said, like, I'm not going to comment on the United links, but, I can't tell about my future. It depends on many things. So he's not completely ruling out a move to Manchester United. Potentially he could be the next Manchester United manager. I'm surprised he even wants to come to us. I feel like we're an absolute mess, but he has spoken about coming to Manchester United. He seems to be the next one on the list as well. Pelistri not going to last at United. You might as well send him out on loan, but I don't know what I don't think Pelistri was impressive when Ten Hag gave him a few starts, but he's done more than Anthony and Bruno on the right wing, so you might as well give Pelistri a run in again. At least he works hard, and he's probably better than Anthony at the moment as well. The thing is, if Mainoo becomes a superstar, how long will he stay at United unless the club's fortunes are somehow turned around? And that's the truth. That's the truth as well. And Amorim didn't really say anything. I just suspect he intends on leaving at the end of the season regardless. Yeah, doesn't want to say no, but doesn't want to say yes as well. Leaks, are they true, or is it more likely agenda clickbait press making things up? making assumptions, hiding behind unnamed sources they conveniently can't reveal. Danny, I think you're right. I think it's people like Luckhurst making up sources to spread negativity to get clicks. I do actually think a lot of the leaks are just completely made up to spread negativity because the media have a Man United agenda and want to paint out this toxic environment to encourage more people to be anti-Ten Hag. I think the media tried to get people to turn on Ten Hag. I think the media like to create this toxic environment at Manchester United. And that's seemingly what they like to do. Ten Hag made some comments about his style of football, and he's saying that, he can't play the way he did at Ajax because he's not the players at United. And he got asked about that in the press conference today, and Ten Hag seemed angry. I don't know if you saw the press conference, but I will say Ten Hag went in. Ten Hag seemed pretty angry. Ten Hag seemed pretty frustrated in that press conference. It seems like he's starting to lose it a little bit, starting to lose his patience. And I feel like we seem to break managers, and I feel like that seems to be the case with Erik Ten Hag. But listen, people, I am going to wrap up the live stream here. Please do hit that like button on the way out, and of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I will be back for Manchester United versus Fulham tomorrow, and depending on how the game goes, depending on the news that comes out, there might be a live stream maybe 8-9 p.m. tomorrow night. So Man United Fulham 12:30 to 2:30 live. Match reaction at 3:00. Then I'll be watching Liverpool versus, of course, not Liverpool, Newcastle versus Arsenal, making a match reaction to that on my second channel. And then potentially at around 9:00, 9:15, we'll maybe have another live stream tomorrow night, late night live stream to discuss the game. Hopefully we won't have to have emergency or crisis meeting in the title. Hopefully we can be talking about United in more of a positive stance for a change. So big up everybody in the chat. Please do hit the like button. Please do subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.